think it might be, of course, different for everyone, but it started with, of course, being conscious in somehow. I was not completely conscious, and still today I'm not conscious of everything that is happening in the world, but it's being informed a minimum of what surrounds us. What I think was the real shift is understanding that there was an emergency. At first, it's okay to be engaged several times during weekends or something, but when you realize that it's something bigger, that it has to happen very quickly, that for me happened when at COP24, Belgium was not in the most ambitious countries of the world at COP24, while we should be as, one of a comfortable country in the world. So it's our responsibility. And the most important part is that 2 days before that COP, we were 100,000 citizens in the streets of Brussels, myself included, and some of my friends, and realizing that huge gap between what was demanded by citizens, demanded by experts, and what was actually happening on the political level. That's when I really realized we could take the next step. And so start doing civil disobedience, which means skipping school, which I would have never thought before. But at really that moment, I realized we have to go further. And I was able to do it only because I felt that I was not also the only one who wanted to do it. I think the first thing is to talk about it. Talk about it in your family group, in your friends group, at school, because it's also places where before I think citizen movements, it was not like normal to talk to your friends about climate change. I mean, you want to gossip, but now it's just like a real topic that you can abort, that you can really start talking to your friends about. And I think it's because you make it normal, you make it a norm to talk about these topics. So if it starts with you, it's gonna spread. So for me, it's really first about talking about it. I don't go in mind with telling myself, I'm gonna convince everyone, because not everyone is gonna be an activist, but there are so many ways to be included in that transition, to be included in that movement without having to be in the streets or having to, do all these actions. There are so many ways to be active. And so it's really starting again with that discussion, but I wish there was a more simple answer, because it's also very slow, the conversations. So for sure, it's just a step. And I think you also lead by example. As soon as we had to go into lockdown, we kind of had to drop all the visions that we had, everything that was already prepared. So it was hard, but what was amazing and what is still amazing today is that the energy is still present. The problem is where you put this energy and the way you achieve things to make sure that you don't just kill your energy and then never reach kind of anything. I don't know in other countries, but in Belgium, we can really see that there is actually a youth almost depression that is rising, which is a real problem. But why is it there? It's because youth are not engaged into school, into other things. But it shows that we are here ready to engage ourselves. We want to be part of the discussions. We want to be part of what's happening in society. We were always told that we were the generation behind our laptops that just wanted to watch movies and chill. But actually, now it shows that it's been a year that youth do that, and they're really tired of it. They just want to get out there and engage themselves. So it's of course very depressing what's happening, but it's also really amazing to see that it's because they're not engaged, because they're willing to do it. So this is also a hope that we need to use today, that these youth are ready to engage themselves. It's something that we are still, of course, struggling with because it's not easy, but it's something that I think our movement is taking really at heart and at the center of attention right now. we are developing more and more on an international level a way for a movement to put forward faces from most affected areas, put forward as much as possible these people, not because they need to, but because they have the capacity that they just don't have the space. And we have to be able to give that space because maybe we're taking too much of it. And by we, I'm talking about a lot of European movements. So it's a way for us to change. Like we strongly believe that if we want this change to happen in the world, we also have to make it in our movement, right? So we're trying to learn a lot, and we're trying to be as inclusive as possible on the international level, and we're learning so much. It's hard to expect things since Corona happened. What I would expect for first the decades is a stronger mobilization of citizens. And by mobilization, I don't only mean in NGOs and movements. I mean, I really hope to see a political system that really opens itself to more participative democracy, where we can see citizens being involved in decisions that are being taken. So where we don't only call on citizens every 4 or 5 or 6 years when they have to vote, but when I can actually be present when the decisions are being made. For 2021, I can only hope for strong actions from citizens and mobilization also, of course, but starting to, react. We cannot wait for Corona to go away. I first thought we would, but today, if we keep on waiting, we're going to fall asleep. So we have to start now. We have to find different ways. Some people will accept to break the rules, others won't, and that's totally fine. But we have to stay awake, and we have to hold accountable also media for spreading news on other thematics than Corona. So in 2021, I strongly hope for involvement of citizens and media and politicians on other topics than Corona, to make sure that we also move forward on these, because we are really, really late on many others. And I always talk about climate, but I mean, we're not taking into account many human rights issues that are happening around the world right now. And that's a real problem.